KwaZulu-Natal in our election coverage after the break. For now, the Home Affairs officers were experiencing problems after a live capture system upgrade this week. The department said that some officers were still unable to process a smart ID card and passport applications due to the technical errors. Well, for the latest, we are now joined by Mr. Thulani Mavuso, the Acting Director General of Home Affairs. A very good evening to you, Mr. Mavuso. We thank you very much for your time. Essentially, with regards to the process and the problems in processing the smart ID cards and passports, what's the update?
No, thank you very much, and thank you for having us in this news bulletin. Look, what we did last week when we were operating the system, you remember that we made a commitment that in the new financial year we're going to have a new e-visa system. We're also going to have a new movement control system with biometrics. So last week was that particular period where we had to release the two bills into the system in order for us to be able to test the functionality of those two systems, because obviously we're still at the testing phase. What happened is that some of the offices did receive and some of the offices did not receive the new bill. So basically that's what transpired. So between Monday and up until yesterday, we were actually just trying to fix it. There were about 9 officers that had a glitch, which we have resolved now. One of those was Port Elizabeth, which we have since fixed. I'm monitoring that. Yesterday afternoon, we were starting to get the applications. So I think we are back on track. Look, I think by their very nature, IT systems, you plan something, you test it over a period of time, and then when you get into production, you sometimes experience some glitches. So, but we are on hand, the team is on hand to attend to those issues.
With regards to the documents and the applications that are affected, was it only specifically for smart ID cards and passports? What about the registration of birth certificates, death certificates, and the other processes in your offices? Yeah,
no, those are not affected in terms of birth, marriages, and death certificate. It was only the smart card and passport, except in Port Elizabeth, because there was a switch that had broken, which was fixed on Thursday afternoon. But we definitely back in production. We have been working very hard. I mean, if you look at the last financial year, we produced over 3,127,000 smart cards just for a period of 12 months. We produced about 958,000 passports, was almost shy of 42,000, shy of 1 million passports that we produced in a year. So if you look at that particular performance, obviously then the glitches that we have in relation to the system and some of the offices that we don't have. Look, we have about 193 officers that can do smart card and passport, but ideally we want to have about 411, at least all of them converted to smart card capabilities. Just that in some areas you deal with the issue of the physical infrastructure that is not conducive for that. You also deal with the issues of network. I mean, we opened a new office with the minister 2 weeks ago in Ndwedwe in KwaZulu-Natal. Part of the issue is that there's no, data and infrastructure there in terms of the network connectivity. So we had to use a microwave link, instead of using what we call your fiber connection that we normally use in offices.
In general, some of the Home Affairs offices can somewhat be described as being outdated, it being a long, tedious process. Is essentially this going to cause some sort of backlog that already seems to exist in some of the more outdated offices?
No, we actually do not have a backlog as we speak. I do know that last week with all the glitches, there were some applications that were stuck in the central server. So the team is working with that, because the central server must actually automatically push the applications to print. So that was the only issue, but we do not have a backlog as far as we are concerned. There are incidences of individuals who, for an example, the ID needs to be verified, either the fingerprints need to be verified, so it takes longer than, but in the majority, citizens get their documents much more quicker than they have ever received in the past.
Now, in terms of other documents, if we speak about the unabridged birth certificates and some of the changes that had been made specifically to that area, can you give us more updates on that?
Well, with the unabridged birth certificate, that if the child is registered now, I mean, from 2013, we changed the system so that when a child is registered for birth, unabridged birth certificate is issued, on the spot. There are cases, obvious, of the old records where you have to modify a record. For example, if you need your own unabridged birth certificate, we need to go through the archives and be able to retrieve your documents so that we can then modify in the new system. Because when we created the unabridged birth records, remember in the olden days, a child would be registered, that would be a manual record, it will not be entered into the system as an unabridged. You'll only get an abridged birth certificate. When you need it, then you have to pull it in the archives, because the system was not designed to cater for that. But when we changed the system to cater for that, we did not obviously go back to old records to say let's digitize all the old records, because that on its own would have cost us billions of rands to be able to do that. So we said we'll do this on demand rather than going back to digitize all the records. But for children who are younger than 18, obviously we are making sure that we go back to history, particularly when in 2014 what we had done then is that we took a sample of all the children who had passports, who were under 18, who had passports. We then modified their birth records so that when the parents need the unabridged birth certificate, they're able to get it much more quicker. The second part is that now, last year, we also modified the passport of children. The passport of a child now, has got at the back of the bio page, it has the details of the parents. So that particular person, obviously, does not need an unabridged birth certificate when they travel, because the details of the parents are already in the passport. So we've produced over 100,000 of those passports already.
All right. So essentially, as we stand now, come Monday, if I walk into a Home Affairs office, I will be able to process either a passport or smart card ID.
Precisely. People have been processing even this week. The numbers, I think we are sitting since Monday, we've captured over 19,000 smart cards and passports just in 1 week, the first week of April, as we're starting the new financial year. So that is business as usual. As I said, it does happen in a particular office. You have a problem with the link, but the team is resolving. We've got a team that is sitting at head office that is monitoring all the offices. Immediately when there's a problem, they troubleshoot, they intervene. So that's what they're doing on a daily basis in order to ensure that people do not struggle.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. Our Home Affairs seems to be back in order. That was Mr. Thulani Mavuso, the Acting Director General of Home Affairs, just taking us through the live system upgrade that had caused a couple of glitches as well as technical errors. As of Monday, of course, has been confirmed that all smart card ID as well as passports will be processed as normal.